Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1635A, and today's date is August 10th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Economic Structure is Being Dismantled to Make Way for the New One. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we know the Fed is out there, and they're continually telling us that there's no inflation, but the everyday person, well, they see inflation, and we know that inflation is being stuffed into many different areas of the economic sector. And we know that inflation is being stuffed into the stock market, into education, into the housing market, across the ocean to other countries. And we're starting to see inflation here in the United States. Now, we've been seeing inflation, but once again, they've been pushing it off into different areas, so you really can't tell. They've been creating a lot of currency, but not allowing it to hit the everyday person. They've been shoving it back into the stock market, putting it into the housing market. And now we see consumer prices. They have met expectations by rising 2.9% year on year. This is the fastest rate of increase since December of 2011. And all of this is due to rent and shelter costs. And this is the highest CPI that we've seen since 2008. Now, when we look at this, we can see one of the biggest drivers was a surge in shelter costs. Shelter inflation rose about 3.5% year on year. Rent inflation rose about 3.6% year on year. And this is a major problem because, as we know, wages are not increasing. When we see inflation here, we're going to see prices of many different products, which means the value of the dollar is decreasing. It's going to go up. But wages, they're not going to go anywhere. They haven't been going anywhere. Actually, they've been declining in a lot of the different sectors. And this is going to make it very, very difficult for many individuals, especially those people that are on a fixed income. It's going to be very, very tough. We see the Swiss National Bank. They have been keeping the stock market propped up. And when everyone was saying, no, the central bank doesn't get involved in the stock market, well, here we have evidence, and we've been talking about this for quite a while, where the Swiss Central Bank, they are purchasing the FANG stocks. Now, what we're looking at here is that the Swiss National Bank, they boosted their holdings of U.S. stocks to $87.5 billion, up 6.6%, or $5.4 billion from the $82 billion at the end of the first quarter, and just shy of their all-time high. Now, on a share basis, the Swiss National Bank added 33.659 million shares to its holdings of U.S. stocks, which at the end of the second quarter stood at 1.320 billion. Now, some notable observations in all this. In the second quarter, after the Swiss National Bank printed money out of thin air, it then added 4.85 million shares of AT&T, 673,000 shares of Microsoft, 305,000 shares of Apple, 272,000 shares of Facebook, 46,000 shares of Amazon, and according to some calculation, the Swiss National Bank's portfolio now generates over $1 billion worth of dividends. They print money, and we ship them our profits. And as we can see, that they and many others have been propping up the stock market. It's not based on anything anymore. It's completely manipulated. And this is manipulation. I mean, think about it. If you have the ability just to print money out of thin air and then go and buy stocks and own parts of companies, that's incredible. And that's what they're doing right now to keep this entire system operational under the central bank system. Remember, we talked about Jacob Rothschild yesterday and how he said that the New World Order, it's falling apart. And of course, they're blaming Trump and the policies, his economic policies with tariffs and things like that. What he's really saying is that everything that the Rothschilds and everyone else, everything that they built, where they were looking to have this one government, one world type of order, it is falling apart right now. And they're going to try to save it by blaming it on Trump and his economic policies. And it's not just Trump. We know it's patriots behind the scenes. But this is their plan right now because they have nothing left. And they're worried that everything is starting to fall apart. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit later in the next report, where a lot of people now are joining the movement. I'm talking about people in different parts of the world where they're figuring it out that there's something wrong, and they're banding together, and they're going up against their leaders, going up against the corporate media. But how do you get rid of a central bank system where you have the deep state, the central bank, the Rothschild, and the rest continually pushing their agenda, where they've taken the U.S., moved all the jobs out overseas, they destroyed the infrastructure, and basically destroyed what the U.S. used to be. And you have to remember, when Obama was president and presidents before him, they were all doing this. This is not just one person. This was a group of individuals that were all doing the same exact thing. And basically, they took away the free markets. They made everything unfair, unjust. They put in redistributionist policies, from Obamacare to massive government stimulus, spending and bailout programs, in an attempt to re-engineer and command the U.S. economy. When these policies inevitably produced what socialism always produces, hardship, sluggishness, we were told to suck it up and accept the new normal. This is the way it's going to be. This is how you see an economy improve. This is what they told us. You're going to see anemic economic growth. You're going to see bad trade deals. You're going to see the death of manufacturing. You're going to see all of this. And you're just going to have to deal with it. Because really what was happening here is they were preparing for a new system. At the end of an old central bank system, this is what it looks like. Because it's failing. And this is what they were trying to convince us of, that this was normal. And people were buying into it. People were saying, yes, this is what a recovery looks like. You only get up to 1.8% GDP. All manufacturing has to be moved out of the country to overseas. No, this is not what a prosperous economy should look like. Retail shouldn't be contracting. We shouldn't have to manipulate our GDP numbers. We shouldn't have to manipulate our unemployment numbers. We shouldn't have to do all this. We shouldn't have to have the central bank buy up the stocks in the stock market. We shouldn't have the central bank creating currency out of thin air and continually do this and actually stop it here, start it in Japan, start it then in the ECB, in the European Union at the ECB. We shouldn't have to move it around so no one can figure out what's really going on. And they needed to do this to keep the system going. What's happening right now is that it's being all dismantled. And when you dismantle something like this, the old, you have to make way for something new. But we're going to go through some pain. And Trump continually calls out the central bank, like we've been seeing. He did the tweet where he said, the Fed is raising rates. It's kind of ridiculous, but they know best. He also put out the tweet on July 20th, 2018, that says the following: the United States should not be penalized because we are doing so well. Tightening now hurts all that we have done. The U.S. should be allowed to recapture what was lost due to illegal currency manipulation and bad trade deals. Debt coming due, and we are raising rates really. Now think about this for a second. Why would he mention this where he's pointing the finger at the central bank? Debt coming due, and we are raising rates really. All of this is about setting up the central bank, making everyone look at the central bank. Look who is doing this. I mean, we have a great economy here. Why are you raising the rates when debt is coming due? This is not pointing the finger at his administration. This is pointing the finger at the central bank. They're in charge of the interest rates. They've been lowering them. They've been raising them. And he's setting them up. And what we see happening here is that this entire system that we're in, this is an old central bank system. They were preparing to move it someplace else and restart it because they knew that it was at the end of its cycle. And when you do this over time, and they know that it only lasts for a certain period of time, you have to move manufacturing, you have to move everything out of the country and duplicate it someplace else. And this is what they've been doing in China, because their eventual plans were to have it restarted in China. Of course, we're supposed to have an event in the war, and this way they can say, okay, the U.S. doesn't have manufacturing anymore. China does. China has all the trading. China has this. And they were looking to move this to someplace else. Just like after World War II, the United States had all the manufacturing. The United States had everything. It was a safe location to hold gold. And Europe really was completely obliterated. There was no manufacturing. Everything had to be rebuilt there. And we can see this is what they were planning on, because as they weakened the military, as they moved manufacturing, as they did all this, what was going to happen to the United States? Well, the United States most likely would have lost the war. And everything would have changed. And the reserve currency would have changed. But we didn't go down that path. We're on a different path. And to get the U.S. back to where it was, what do you need to do? You need to undo everything the central bank, the deep state, was planning on doing. Remember, they had many, many years to do this. How many years do we have to undo all of this? Well, we don't have that much time. The central bank, they're going to still stick to their plan. They're not giving up. They're going to try everything they possibly can to reach their goal. And this is why Rothschild is out there. This is why the World Trade Organization is out there. This is why the IMF is out there. This is why all these different organizations, the Fed is out there. Think about everything that I just mentioned, everything that has to do with the central bank. This is why they're all out there placing the blame and pointing the finger, saying that, hey, this economic policy of tariffs, bilateral trades, it's not going to work. The system's crashing. But when you look at the United States looks like it's booming. So Trump and the Patriots are countering everything that the central bank is trying to do. Trump is also pointing the finger at the Fed at the same time. I mean, we really never seen a president do this. And the presidents that have done this in the past, well, they were either assassinated or they attempted to assassinate the presidents. So we see right now, this is the path we're on. And one thing is for sure, we're going from this old system that doesn't help the people to a new system that will help the people. And it will be a little hard for certain people. It will be a bumpy ride. These things are never easy. And this is why we've been saying get prepared for a very long time. And you need to get prepared. You don't have to buy specialty things or anything like that. You can just stock up on food, stock up on water. Make sure you have cash on hand because you need that in the beginning. Make sure you have some gold and silver. I would also have cryptocurrencies. I would have other things in the house to barter with while we go through this transition. And this transition will be hard for many people because a lot of things that they believed in, like the dollar could never go away, everything will always be fine, I will never lose money in the real estate market, all these things. And then they'll come to find out, wow, my pension is gone. My house is worth nothing right now. What is going on here? The value of the dollar is dropping. I can't access my accounts in the banks. And this might be for a little while. Because remember, the battle is not going to end once it collapses. The battle is going to continue on. Because the central banks, they just don't want to give up. And until the central banks are removed from this whole equation, that's when things will start to get normal. So when we go through this transition, the transition is also getting rid of the central bank. And we're going to see a huge battle from now until the central bank is completely removed. So everyone needs to be prepared and ready for all of this that's coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.